Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Social Blueprint interview where we always highlight people in a community who you may or may not know. But everybody has a story, and I promise you, today's story will inspire you and show our resilience as a Jewish people. And it's not just overcoming something, it's thriving. And that's why I'm thrilled today to be joined with somebody who I've known for a very long time, since you are far younger and you still are pretty young, Julia Caplan. And with that introduction, Julia, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Hey, Julia, as I said, we go way back, and today we're going to talk about overcoming obstacles, because we all have obstacles in our lives, but not just overcoming them, thriving. And there's an expression that says Hashem never ever gives us a challenge that we can't overcome, and
Absolutely.
You definitely have. And maybe to set the scene about what we're going to talk about and to get into it, it's in the relationships of health and scoliosis and back issues. I think that something like 90% of people at some point, unfortunately, everyone will have some type of back issue. But yours did start pretty early, and maybe just roll back the clock a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So I would say I remember I didn't have any pain. I had no issues at all. But what did happen was I was at a swimming competition because I was very into swimming 5 days a week. And what happened was I was leaning over next to my coach right before a race and leaning forward, and my coach, she ran her fingers along my spine and she said to me, "Oh, Julia, I think your back's uneven." And I was like, "What?" Which was strange because I'd been seeing the physio because I had a shoulder injury and an ongoing shoulder injury that just was not ever occurring.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but how old were you at this point?
I was about 15.
Okay.
Yeah, so then she said, "Oh, maybe you should go to a specialist." So at 15 years old, my mum took me to the specialist, Gary Natchez, and he looked at me. I literally took off my top for him to look at my back, and straight away he said, "Yep, I could see the scoliosis."
And what were your initial thoughts?
I was like, this makes a lot of sense. Because I was walking kind of quite uneven.
Right.
And everyone was telling me to fix my posture, but I couldn't fix my posture. I was like, I'm standing straight, I promise you.
Right. So that must have been unbelievably frustrating before that, hearing that comment all the time, like, stand up, stand up.
Yes, it was constant. Yeah. And I couldn't understand why I kept getting injuries, like on my shoulders. Right. And it ended up being because of my back, essentially.
Right. And now, was it also, though, somewhat of an aha moment, like, this is exactly the reason?
Yes, and it was pretty quick from the minute I was diagnosed to actually requiring surgery, because the severity of the curvatures were too far gone to go through the process of having a brace.
Right. So walk us through. So you have the surgery, and what was the recovery like, or what happened afterwards? Wasn't it smooth, was it?
No, not. It's definitely a long process when you have metal rods and screws in your spine. I remember I was totally drugged out for like a week, saying really inappropriate things to my family members. I won't go into what they were, but my family
off camera, bro.
Oh yeah, totally off camera. And the third day I got up, the physio came in and got me up. The occupational therapist came in, checked that I could manage all my self-care functioning tasks. Right. And then from the third day, I had to relearn to walk again. And so it was a slow progression after that. I spent a week in hospital, wearing back brace to sleep in 24/7. And that was for 6 months. I had the back brace for 24/7. And I went home and I spent another probably 5 weeks at home sleeping, just like from the recovery and not going to school. And then eventually I started to build up to having some time going to school, because I couldn't tolerate being in busy environments. I couldn't tolerate sitting for too long or walking for too long. So it was quite a slow progression to get there.
Right. And we're going to go back to the athletics. I'm not going to drop that. But at that point, what was your mental state? Because obviously you were physically in quite a way.
Yeah. So I'm pretty lucky. I've been always quite resilient. I think
Yes.
sport is such a major factor when it comes to managing your own mental health. It was not an area for me that I kind of ever had to worry about because I was so active.
Right.
And we know with exercise it increases endorphins, and endorphins improve mental health. And so for my whole life, from being younger, playing cricket with my brothers in the backyard, it's just always been a part of my life. So I'm lucky that I've been quite resilient in that sense and managing my mental health well.
Right, and also, I guess, along with that, doing the physio, doing the recovery, for you, that was not necessarily, a lot of people just give up because they just can't be bothered. For you, that was not going to be an issue, was it?
No, I had a goal. I wanted to get back to sport. I couldn't,
Right.
I was never the type of person to just be on my back and lie down for such a long period of time. I wanted to move. I wanted to get up. I knew that there were opportunities, possibilities out there, and that's what I focused on.
Right. And so now back at, so sports, as you've mentioned, first of all, you were diagnosed when you were swimming, so obviously by definition, you're pretty active. You've always been into sports though, haven't you?
Yeah, I remember we used to have a really big backyard.
Yeah.
And I've got 3 siblings, so when everyone had friends over, it was always kind of like we had enough for like a footy team or a cricket team or a soccer team or whatever it was. So I guess it started back there, and we, these days people spend a lot more time on the iPads or watching TV, but that was never part of our life.
Right.
Our life was always being outside, always being active. And so it started from there.
Right. Amazing. Now, I guess, moving forward, so your recovery, it's going okay. What were the next steps? Did you get back into sports then at that point?
So I wasn't allowed to get back into sport, I think, for 6 months. 6 months was non-contact. So 6 months meant I could do some swimming, but I had to be mindful of the incision point because of infection. So 6 months I could do some swimming and I could do walking.
Right.
And I could potentially try running, but it wasn't it. But 12 months was when I could do contact.
Okay. So there was, and did you notice progress getting better?
Definitely. I think being young and having the surgery and being fit prior to the surgery definitely helped my ability to recover a lot quicker.
Right. And I have to ask, with the brace, wearing it, what was it like for you?
I felt stiff, but I felt like it provided me support. So
Right.
At the very beginning, towards the end, my friends used to be embarrassed walking out in the street with me.
Right.
I probably shouldn't say that. But sorry, you said about the brace. What did it like? What was it like? It was fun. It was great.
Right.
Like, it provided me the support that I needed. I wore it everywhere, and it didn't really bother me at all.
It didn't. So it didn't have a social impact on you.
No social impact. No.
That's great. And now, I guess, footy.
Yes.
Tell us about your footy career, and also, were you playing footy prior?
Not at that age, but I started playing footy in year 12 at Scoliosis, and I was part of the footy team, and I loved it. But there was never a Jewish footy team ever.
Right.
But then, about 10 years ago, I'd since finishing school at that point, I played basketball, I did other sports, I went travelling, and then suddenly an opportunity came up. They were starting an Ajax women's football team, and the minute that started, I was like, this is for me, because my brothers play, always into sport, and I was always hanging around Ajax
Right.
prior, doing various roles, being the team sports trainer. And then when this came up, I was like, yes, I'm going to be doing this. And initially I thought, this is a very contact sport. What am I going to do? How am I going to move? But at that time, I felt ready to give it a go.
Right. And how was it? Because obviously you've had a pretty big football career.
Yeah. I played for 9 years. I'm technically still playing. I've played a couple of games this year, but I'm also technically retired, given it some time off. But yeah, it was it's an amazing game, and it's an amazing way to bond with different types of people in our community. People who went to non-Jewish schools, people who went to Jewish schools. It's a really great way for women to get together.
Yeah, I'm curious because sports, certainly for boys, so many of them, including me, will tell you it was so formidable for what you did in life, and they'll always tell you you didn't necessarily get along with all your teammates, but you had a shared goal. What are some of the learnings that you've taken away?
I think teamwork, working in a team, in a large team, navigating different personalities. That's actually definitely helped my career.
Absolutely.
And in leadership, and I was lucky to be part of the leadership team at Ajax as well. And I think understanding that everyone has different ways that they do things, different reasons why they've joined the team. Some people social, some people more, professional, but it's all about navigating the two of them and making sure that everyone gets along and does what we're there to do, which is good.
That's right. And also within Ajax, I'm curious about your experience there because it really is a pillar of the Jewish community, isn't it?
Yes, I have to say, it's an amazing club. I started there probably right before, in year 9, I probably started there. So before my scoliosis operation. And I was the boundary umpire for the senior men's team and the reserves men's team. And I had to stop doing that because I had the surgery.
Right.
And then I came back a few years later and I decided to be a sports trainer. So I, did my course in that and then started building up my skills there, and then eventually became the head sports trainer at Ajax, which led me to Melbourne Football Club. So I had a stint there as well for a few years. And then when kind of the women's team came about,
right.
That's when I kind of joined the team and spent a long time there.
And so and as you said, have you the relationships that you've met there? Just tell us about that.
I think I definitely have a group of best friends from Ajax.
Right.
I'm lucky enough to also have played with my sister, and I think that's really special for me to play in a team sport with my sister. It's funny because she won a best and fairest before I did, and we always laugh about it because I was the last one in my family to win a best and fairest, but now I've won 2, so I beat them all.
You're not competitive, are you?
Not competitive, not at all. But yeah, so it's very special, and I still maintain relationships with a lot of the girls that are in the team, and it's a great feeling to have like-minded people in terms of sports.
Yeah, and speaking of a team, it's also your family team. Tell us about your puppy.
So my papa was definitely a big aspect of my sporting career. He came to every swimming competition, every basketball competition of mine and my siblings. And then at the beginning when we started playing football, he was like, girls shouldn't be playing football because he, that generation. And then he started coming to the games and realized, actually, we're doing really well. And at the time, I don't think the men's team were doing as well.
Right.
And so he thought, okay, well, at least, at Ajax, we've got a team that are winning. He wanted to be involved. And so he would come to every game of mine and loved it. And then finally understood that, yes, women have a place in sport, which was amazing. And then when I left Ajax to go play at a higher division, he was kind of my driving factor to return to Ajax and continue my career and finish my career at Ajax.
And tell us about that too and how it relates to him.
So it was difficult because we had, as I mentioned, I've got 3 other siblings and the 4 of us were all playing in different teams. So for him to get to every game was a struggle for him. And he said, we had conversations. He wanted my other brother and I to return to Ajax so we would all be together. And the following year we did. And he loved it because we'd have to get there at 8 o'clock in the morning for a 9:20 start. And then my brother's game would be at 2 o'clock and finish at 5:30. And he would be there from 8 o'clock till 6 p.m. because it was the thing that he looked forward to the most out of everything in his life for the whole week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just shows you what it brings together.
Yeah, so Ajax holds a lot of place in my heart, and sport does as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of sport, fast forward to today, to your career. Tell us about that.
So I guess, as I mentioned, because I've always been so involved in sport, my career kind of led me down the opportunity of looking into occupational therapy, which is what I do now at Total Health Choice. And it's an amazing career. I manage a team of 12 OTs.
Right.
And what we do as OTs is we work with people in the community to be as independent as possible in regards to functional goals. So that might be ensuring that they can shower independently, making sure they can toilet, dress, engage in meal preparation. And it's a range from kids to old people. So it's very fulfilling and rewarding career.
Right. And I'm curious also, because you mentioned earlier that you were a trainer as well at Ajax.
Yeah.
So was some of that training applicable to what you do right now, or is it quite different?
I think building rapport.
Okay.
It's across allied health. We always say that building rapport is probably like the common factor.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So that's probably the area that is similar. We do different things. Sports training kind of focuses more on physio, whereas I'm more the functional side of things.
Right. And on that, as you said, the report, is it the truth is if they don't believe you, they just will not do it?
Absolutely. And you've got to be confident, you've got to know what you're doing, you've got to give them belief in you, and it's a hard skill, but you can work towards it.
Right. And also, again, are these the skills that you learned way back when you were playing footy, 15, 16, 17 years old?
Definitely, because it's all about teamwork, right? It's all about engaging with different people and understanding different personalities and how to relate to different people. So it's very much that, all of those skills that I learned by working in a team has led me to be able to now lead a team.
Yeah, and also just the inspiration, as you said, the belief factor, isn't that so huge?
Yeah. We want to give, we work with the vulnerable people in the community.
Right.
From all walks of life. And it's really important that we're there for a purpose, and that purpose is to make their lives, to improve their quality of life, and also to ensure that they can be independent at home, essentially. So our goal is to make sure that they can continue living at home safely.
Yeah, and I'm curious, just getting into a specific, there seems to be a big movement now towards getting people to stay at home as long as possible. Are there a lot of ways, as you said, even the little things like how to shower correctly, how to do it safely, go to the bathroom or something like that, are they really very, very important and teachable skills, I guess?
Definitely. So initially, for what I do in my role is I go out and meet someone, I understand their capabilities, I see how they're managing. So that might be through observation, or it might be through like a conversation.
Right.
And then kind of throughout the conversation, I identify challenges that they might have whilst living at home. And my role then is to help fix those challenges. Well, why can't you shower? Why can't you get into your house? What can I do to help you improve your life at home?
Right, and are there a lot of instances where really there are some basic changes where it can make a huge difference for them? Definitely.
We're looking at, ramps potentially, some rails. It might be something like some assistive technology around the house. It might be a forward walker. It might be a single point stick. There's such a broad range out there, and it depends on the diagnosis and the person and the needs, but it's not just standard equipment. There's so much out there that we kind of look to recommend.
Yeah, and we are really in this golden age of medicine, I suppose.
Yeah.
Julia, before we sign off, you are extremely community-minded, and it's not just Maccabi, CSG as well, which, for people that don't know, it helps protect us in our community here. Tell us about that.
So I've been involved in the CSG for about 6 years.
6?
Yep, long time, but it's a very incredible organisation who help protect the community. There's a lot that we do that people don't know, and those times when you're in shul on Yom Kippur and you're sitting there for the 8 hours that you're there, or even longer, we're standing out on the street for those 8 hours. Sometimes also fasting as well, most of the time fasting, depending on who you ask. And it's just an incredible organisation that puts so much in the community and really helps to unite the community and build resilience throughout the community.
Yeah, and I don't think there's an organization, I believe, that touches more people in the community than CSG.
No, it's a huge organisation, and we're always looking for more people, more predictors.
So anybody out there that wants to volunteer, contact Julia.
Yeah.
Julia, it's been so good to talk to you. As I said to everybody here, I've known you, I don't know how long, a long
15
time.
years.
15
more.
years. A long time.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit older than you, but yes, exactly. Julia, thank you so much. Any closing words?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to you, and it's been so nice to be here, and to Sharon, of course. And
Sharon's on the other side of the camera.
Yes. And I also just want to send a thank you to the people protecting our community, the CSG. I think they do a really valuable job, and I think it helps unite our community and build resilience in our community. So I appreciate everyone's work.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.